The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Let's listen as Lorraine LaPointe, coach, therapist, educator, speaker, and founder of Head Heart Synergy, brings together another enlightened guest to inspire and motivate us to move forward, achieve our dreams and desires, so that we experience midlife awakening.
And I'm your host, Lorraine LaPointe. Today we'll enjoy another candid conversation that reveals how to bring back a sense of balance and how to find forward focus. Today, take just a few moments to join us as we explore the possibilities and the perspectives that provide us with greater inner peace, power, passion, and purpose. Because that's what I call living at the edge of fulfillment in a midlife awakening. Hello, and welcome. It's great to have you here. What do you do when your inner well of resilience feels drained? My own well feels kind of full today, because I'm excited about our show. My intention is for you to feel refreshed by listening and participating here on the Edge of Fulfillment. And I'm really happy to welcome today's guest, who knows all about the importance of filling the well of resilience, because she knows full well what happens when our well runs dry. And for those who haven't met me before, I'm Lorraine LaPointe, and you can think of me as your show host and guide who helps people like us who want to live a more satisfied and fulfilled second half of life. Because when we focus on our mental fitness, it means we align both our head and our heart, our mind and our heart. And of course, many know much more about me, and my company is called Head Heart Synergy, because we reach out each week through this radio, W4WN, on Women for Women Network, and Talk for TV. So together we can create an inspiring and safe and sacred space to explore different ways of living with greater peace, power, passion, and purpose. And I believe that's the definition of having a full well. So just a few housekeeping items. Each week we broadcast in all kinds of different places through the magic of social media. And we welcome you. So whether you're here live with us or you've come across us at a later date, we invite you to fully engage with this program and connect with us. Because is your well feeling full today? Add the words "I'm well" if you can in the chat, if you're here. Now, some people won't be able to add to the chat because they're listening on radio, but if there's a chat feature where you are listening, I'd love to hear how well you're feeling. And this program is for you. And if there's something in here in today's program that really inspires you or makes you go, then be sure to let us know exactly what that is, because the more we get to know you, the better we can understand what inspires and motivates you. And the more we can offer interesting ways to fill your well. So listeners love our contest as well and our prizes. So one of the things that you can do is unlock the bonus prizes as soon as we reach 100 comments. And you can help make that happen by sending out and reaching out to friends and family. Invite them on the show. Just tag them and invite them on in. Or they can listen on W4WN. Hi, Sherry. It's so good to see you. Or talk4tv.com. And then they can enjoy the experience with you. So just add their name in now so that they receive an invitation from you. And, one of the great things is that your comments appear like Sherry's because of the magic behind the scenes. And we thank our producer, Roxy, for that. She's going to let us know when we get near the 100 mark. And I'm so grateful for her support because there's all kinds of things that she does behind the scenes that we don't know about so that the show runs smoothly. So you can also thank Roxy and get those comments up by just putting a thank you, Roxy, in the comment section, and that also helps to make her day. Listen, sometimes when a task seems overwhelming and our journey feels like it's long and you just need someone to say, don't worry, I've got your back, this is one way that we can introduce you to fill your Sherry, to fill your well as you gain so much more satisfaction and fulfillment in the second half of your life. And there's Anne. Good morning, Anne. Good to know that you're well. Today we'll provide an opportunity to win the contest. For those who don't know about the contest, it's a draw for an Amazon gift card sponsored by our guest's company called Invest in Yourself. You simply listen throughout the show and there will be 5 inspirational words. Don't worry, I'll tell you what they are. And then at the end, jot them down somewhere. And at the end, I'll ask you to go ahead and put those 5 inspirational words into the comments, and then you'll be entered to draw to win the gift card. Like last week's winner was Sue Trace, and she'll receive the prize that was sponsored by Lisa Jury from RDL Group Incorporated, who was our guest last week. So thank you to both Lisa and to Sue. And you've already heard the first word today. The first word today is the word breathe. Something I'm going to take an opportunity to do right now. Something that is the root of your mental fitness and resilience. And our guest is going to talk some more about how important that is. So keep track of that first word. The word is breathe. And typical of many of us, through no fault of our own, sometimes we get disconnected from who we really are, and we lose sight of our gifts and our talents and our strengths. And this drains our well of resilience. And that's why today's guest is going to share a little of her own journey and give 3 simple but effective tools to refill that well again. And you're listening to The Edge of Fulfillment on W4WN, which is the Women for Women Network, brought to you by Head Heart Synergy. So stay tuned. We're going to connect with our guest, Kathleen Fanning, right after this little short break. See you in a minute.
Mental fitness, the missing X factor for enhancing performance, achievement, and success. Mental fitness empowers you with the magic of 3: stabilized mood, peace of mind, deeper relationships. Time to make it happen? Grow the self-command muscle. Intercept your self-defenses. Build your inner wisdom. In less than 15 minutes a day, gain the missing X factor. Let me show you how.
Well, welcome back. A quick recap for those who are just joining us. We are running a contest as we usually do this week. And the contest the prize this week is an Amazon gift card sponsored by today's guest and her company, Invest in Yourself. And we've already heard the first of the 5 secret or inspirational words. So you need to write this one down. The first word we heard was breathe. Now listen for the 4 other words as we continue this program, Edge of Fulfillment, brought to you by Head Heart Synergy on W4WN, the Women for Women Network Radio and Talk for TV. And today's guest is known for making self-care a priority. Kathleen Fanning is the owner of Invest in Yourself, and she's passionate about supporting women in higher education as they address the gap in their sense of resilience and well-being. And I'm really excited to have her here today because her warmth and compassion supports people so positively on both professional and personal journeys. So welcome, Kathleen.
Hello there, Lorraine. Thank you.
Yeah, so good to have you here.
You
And Kathleen, our show is called The Well of Resilience, and I understand that you believe in natural ways to increase that well of resilience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I think I love the image of the well, and wells don't stay full kind of consistently, so they need us to top them up. Okay, in Ireland we have holy wells, and I have a picture I use for a gift that I'll be mentioning later on in a course that has spiritual overtones to it, which I love kind of too. But I don't know what to say. I just love that imagery that we can keep replenishing it, and we need to do that. So we can't be complacent about our resilience. We need to be proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because my sense of my inner well is that it rises and decreases depending on what I'm dealing with in a day and how much sleep I've had.
Yeah.
Sleep is a big factor, and how connected I am with others. Do you find that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, in the training I do, I just finished a workshop with one of the universities here in Ireland, and I look at 4 areas: emotional, head, cognitive, physical, and social connectedness. So they're all ways that we can fill our well. But absolutely. And it's challenging now, isn't it, in pandemic times when we're not sitting and having cups of tea together. We're doing it. Thankfully, we're able to do it virtually, but we have to be very conscious and proactive of keeping those connections going. You're right.
Well, and one of the things that viewers might not know about you is here we are sitting having a virtual cup of tea on our show, and you're all the way over there in Ireland.
That's right. That's right.
Here I am in Canada, and through the magic of technology, we can connect and we can, meet together. And so, I mean, although there's a thing going on at the moment, which is draining our well, I think, called fatigue, like virtual fatigue, where people are spending so much time online that, it's difficult for them. But I find that connecting in this way really juices me up, and I get to squeeze more juice out of life, which is also what this show is about.
Absolutely. And people are, having Zoom calls with their extended family. So I think we get tired of the work aspect, maybe, of being online all the time. But I think people are really capitalizing on making it a fun connection too. So,
yeah, I'd love to hear what our listeners are experiencing and thinking about their experiences with having their well drained or being online or whatever's up for them today. So I'd love to hear how things are going for you out there and the connections. And maybe while they're busy typing or getting a comment ready, then perhaps it's time to pull an Oracle energy card. Are you doing that?
Absolutely.
All right. Super. So I'm going to shuffle. I've got them right here. I'm going to shuffle away, and you just say stop when you're ready for me to pull.
Stop.
All right.
That's a good time.
That was a good time. Oh, I don't know. Usually I have trouble showing these, but I'll show this one. It's called Quieting the Mind. I don't know if you can see that. Thanks, Rox. Quieting the mind. So let's find out what quieting the mind is all about. Oh, just what we were discussing. I'm amazed at how in alignment the cards are always, you know. So I don't know who this message is for, but life is chaotic, busy, loud, frenetic, and sometimes overwhelming. Isn't this why we try to take vacations, to get away, to go somewhere peaceful? Today, you need to slow down and find a little bit of peace wherever you are. Know that you have all the time in the world to do the things that really need doing, and everything is perfect just the way it is. It talks about core beliefs about the world originate in thought and feeling, and then become our perceptions of the things around us. If our thoughts are all over the place, that's how we experience the outer world.
And should I point out that you gave one of the words, the magic words?
Oh, please. Yes.
Perception.
Awesome. So viewers need to write that one down. So our second word is perception. Thank you, Kathleen. Good catch. It continues. If at our center there is a place of constant calm, that's where problems and challenges, we can go where problems and challenges aren't nearly as important as we think they are. So the invitation today is to take an internal break, to go to that silent space and regroup when you need to. You'll be amazed at how easily everything falls into place once you do.
Yeah. Isn't that perfect? And that sums up resilience.
Yeah, quieting the mind.
Absolutely. And also that word perception, that is so huge, because what goes on in here is not necessarily real. And it certainly isn't always true, because you and I have talked about this, that inner critic, the judge, that's so strong in all of us. And it's not accurate. And yet the only way that we can challenge that is grounding ourselves, finding that space of calm that you mentioned, to breathe, to get into our bodies and out of our head. And I have a tool that I'll give you in a few minutes too, to help with that.
All right. And Sherry, if we could pop that comment back up. Sherry says, the pandemic is giving me an opportunity to slow down to the speed of life. I love that. Making time for my personal Tai Chi and Qigong practice. So there's two tools right there. If you're not sure how to slow down, there's two tools that you can learn, and you can learn them even online. There's some beautiful videos for Qigong and Tai Chi.
Absolutely.
And Rosemary, good morning, Rosemary. She said she'd love to hear more about Kathleen's business and what she can offer. Does she have a website? She certainly does.
She does. And I think Roxy will be putting it out in a minute. She created it. There she is.
Thank you, Roxy. Isn't it amazing the magic that Roxy can make happen? Your request, and Roxy can just do it just like magic. So,
will I tell you a little bit about my business? Would that be okay?
Yeah, it's a good time.
Good. As you said in my lovely introduction there, I work with women and men in higher education who are dealing with a sense of overwhelm sometimes, often, the boundaries between, another word there, Boundaries.
Yes, very good. You are catching these words much faster than I am this week. This is awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. So there you go, listeners. That is our third word. Our third word is boundaries. And if you happen to miss the first couple, we had the first word is breathe, and then Kathleen caught perception, and now this third one is boundaries. So we have 2 left to go. And Anne, if I can just jump in here for a second and grab Anne's comment. Anne says, I love Kathleen's mention of fun connections, as I do think that there is a sense of virtual fatigue out there. Thanks, Lorraine and Kathleen. I'm focusing on fun for the rest of this Friday. Awesome, Anne. That's so wonderful to hear, and an invitation to others to do the same. But please continue, Kathleen. I'd love to hear more.
So with boundaries, what I was thinking was how people are working so hard, but I think when they're working from home, it's even more challenging to finish work and have boundaries that mark the workday and home.
Yeah. Can I raise my hand along with a few others, maybe, that I have the same problem? It's like, oh, well, I'll just do one more thing. I'll just do one more thing. And the next thing you know, that one more thing is 12 more things, and it's 3 more hours. And
absolutely. And it's into nighttime, and you and I having the children there looking for time with us. So we can fall into that trap maybe a bit more easily too. But for working moms and dads, they're conscious, they're feeling guilty about not being with the family, but then they're feeling guilty about not getting all the work done, and the never-ending emails that come in all the time. So again, learning how to put boundaries, so that work-life balance is not something that happens unless we do create those boundaries.
Yeah, and that I love that you work with women in higher education. And I would love to hear more about your experiences with them and the connection to boundaries, because I think there is a connection there, isn't there?
There is, very definitely, yeah. I suppose what I found, like when that scenario that I described, self-care is at the bottom of the list. People, there's no time. If I have all this to do, there's no time for me. And yet, with my work with these people as clients, they put self-care up on the agenda. And then they start feeling the benefit of that. And they work better. I think each of them would say that they're actually getting more done, but they're putting limits. They've created those boundaries. So not looking at emails at 10 o'clock on a Friday evening.
Yeah, and one of the things that comments that almost all of my clients who are developing their mental fitness practices say is that at the beginning they think that they don't have time. It takes about 15 minutes a day, and they say, I'm so busy, I don't know where I'm going to fit this in. And then the comments are, after they've put it in place, is finding that 10 to 15 minutes a day for them, they actually create time.
Absolutely.
And they feel like time expands. Yeah. So they create, it brings in a sense of optimism, and that sense that they can get things accomplished and that they can do more. And
another word, Lorraine.
Oh, awesome. Tell me what that is. You are
optimism. Optimism. This is a fun game. I like this. Optimism.
So that's number 4. We've had 4 out of 5 words, which is awesome. Yeah, that sense. And it's so important to have that sense of optimism.
Absolutely.
So go ahead and jot that down. So let's just do a quick recap, because you're much quicker grabbing these than I am. So we had breathe. And we had perception.
And we had boundaries.
And
optimism.
So we have one left.
And they are all strategies for filling our well of resilience. Breath. Absolutely. And it's something, as somebody pointed out, we'd be dead if we weren't breathing, and yet we take it for granted. And we don't generally many of us breathe well when we're relaxed, well again. So then when we're stressed, our body nearly goes into a panic mode because we're not getting enough oxygen. And we get what's termed fuzzy brain. We're not thinking well because we're not breathing well. So as a way to build our resilience and as a way to work more effectively, take time to breathe.
Maybe we should take a little moment right now and just for ourselves and for our listeners. And hello, Angeline and Sandra. Lovely to have you with us today. So let's just do a couple of breaths and see what the difference is. Take note of your body and how it feels right now. And then Kathleen's going to lead us in a couple of breaths.
Okay.
So
and I'll lead you. Sorry, I'm crossing over you there, Lorraine. But what I'm going to invite you to do is to take a deep breath in through our nostrils and then a longer breath out, exhalation through our mouth. And that's actually an instant way, they call it nearly a parachute. When our fight or flight has been triggered, something has us anxious, our whole body is in that kind of turmoil that happens 100 times a day. This breath brings us down in a good way. So let's try it now.
Okay.
Two of them, okay?
Yeah. Good stuff, Sandra. Thanks. Okay, let's have people do it with you as you speak through it, and I'm going to mirror.
Good. Okay, so breathe in through your nose, through your nostrils, deep breath in, and then a longer exhalation out your mouth.
Oh, yeah. And I'm hoping that listeners get that same sense that I just had of going from like a certain level of energy to a much calmer state. Like it's
Absolutely.
Just, can I offer a little story that I tell sometimes to explain the difference in the breathing?
Sure, yeah.
So, I mean, this is very instinctual, this breathing piece, and it communicates with our brain instantly about what's going on or what we perceive in the world. And there's that perception word again. Yeah. And that is you're walking. So thousands of years ago, you're walking through the jungle, la, 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 and you see a lion paw print in the dirt. You don't go, oh, look, a lion paw print. You go, a lion paw print, and you start looking around, right? And you're keen for sound, and you're breathing from the top part of your lungs, because if there's a paw print, there could be a lion or a saber-toothed tiger or whatever it is. And so our breathing communicates to our body.
Absolutely.
Whether we should be hyper alert or whether we should be relaxed. So your technique of breathing through your nose and out your mouth, longer on the exhale than the inhale, is actually how you shunt yourself down to relax.
Absolutely.
And that, go ahead.
Okay, just what you're describing there, the survival part of our brain kicks in, danger, 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 and it's such a wonderful mechanism in us, but getting stuck in traffic creates that same reaction that happened thousands of years ago to our ancestor when they saw the saber-toothed tiger. And then, but they rested, they got away from the danger and they rested, but we don't. We go from one, so I'm stuck in traffic, I'm going to be late for the meeting. So I bring that anxiety in, I'm late for the meeting. And then I could be in that kind of heightened awareness the whole day, unless, like you said, we take a couple of minutes and calm ourselves down.
Yeah, and it doesn't even actually, like, I mean, we say a couple of minutes, but it actually only takes a few seconds.
Yeah.
You know, and my body loves it. I can feel myself breathing. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a little break and let our listeners breathe. I invite you to breathe all the way through the break, and we'll be right back with The Edge of Fulfillment here on the Women for Women Network and at Talk for TV. So stay tuned.
Did you know video is the future on content? There are 3 good reasons why video is the future of content. Number 1, videos are often more engaging than simple pictures or music alone. Number 2, it's much easier to tell your story through video. Number 3, because we love to watch video, they go viral much faster. Hey, notice you're still watching right now. See how well it works. Next time we can play your video here instead. Ask me how. Shine online on Talk 4 TV and W4WN Radio.
And welcome back. We are here this week with Kathleen Fanning. And just doing a little recap. Before the break, we were talking about how you can control your body and the level of stress that you feel simply by taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth and making the exhale longer than the inhale. So thank you for that, Kathleen. I'm really curious, and perhaps our listeners are as well. I'd like to know more about who Kathleen is. We heard about your business, but we haven't really had a chance to talk about you. And so I'd like to know, what are you most proud of, Kathleen?
What am I most proud of? I am proud of all the work I've done in my career. I've been in education and training and coaching for many years. Started my career with Montessori with very young children. And I think that gave me a philosophy of following the child, following the learner, which fits with coaching now, following the client's agenda there too. So when I see my course participants, when I see my clients grow in confidence, when I hear them talk about putting self-care first and feeling the benefits of it, when I can pick up on the calmness in them that mightn't have been there a few months before, I'm over the moon. So that's what I love. I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I'd like to clarify a little bit. Like sometimes people think that self-care is like going to a spa, taking the weekend away, and that is self-care. That is one form of self-care. But I get a sense that the self-care that you're talking about is a little more organic.
Care of self, taking care of myself, making myself a priority without feeling that that's a selfish thing to do in that judgmental kind of sense of selfish. The image that I always think of is when we were on planes, which was a while ago, and the member of cabin crew was showing us about the oxygen mask, and always say to parents, put your oxygen mask on first.
For good reason.
Which is, I think, a fantastic image, because it shows that by not making time for myself, by not feeding what I need, by not filling my well, I'm not doing anybody a favor, least of all myself.
And I've often said you can't give what you haven't got.
No, that's right. That's right. So you're right.
Yeah, if you're burned out, tired, exhausted, feeling stressed and worried, then you haven't got the depth. You haven't filled your well. You haven't got the resilience to give. And that's really robbing yourself and your family and those around you of all the goodness that people that you have. Everyone has that. So thank you for that. And sometimes I get a sense that you're really excited and fulfilled with what you're doing at the moment. Like it's a good thing. But I wonder if perhaps it hasn't always been that way for you. Was there anything that you had to give up in order to have this exciting coaching ability to connect?
Well, I suppose to have my own business, I gave up my full-time teaching job.
Which
was something I really enjoyed, but then there were changes in structure and I didn't adapt, maybe. I don't know, it was different and I was finding it become more stressful. So I made a choice for myself, which was a real leap in the dark to go in, become self-employed, instead of being a member of staff and getting my monthly paycheck, to go off and generate work for myself. And it took a while, And I'd have to say there were challenging kind of couple of years, but now it's working well. And I love, for someone who wouldn't have seen themselves as being a business person, I'm really getting a buzz out of that. Do you know that I'm here today for myself and for my business and talking to another businesswoman. It's fun. Do you know, isn't it fun? Because like you were an educator for so long too. So you weren't out in business for 20 years before you started this episode.
No. It's totally different. Actually, and what you've described is why I called the show Edge of Fulfillment, because I think most of us stand on the edge and we'd like to be more satisfied and fulfilled in our lives. But in order to really grasp that sense of fulfillment, we have to move beyond the edge. And you did that when you stepped away from a common paycheck, a place that you knew,
a place I love too,
and a place you love.
It was becoming more challenging and not giving me the same buzz, I suppose, that it had before. Yeah. So I look back and I'm grateful. Gratitude, we're going to talk about in a minute. Another word, the last word.
I think that's word number 5. Because word number 5 is gratitude. Thank you for mentioning that again, Kathleen. So if our listeners now have all 5 words, please go ahead and add all 5 words into the chat. Or you can email them to me at support@headheartsynergy.com with just the subject line contest, and I'll enter you for the Amazon gift card. But let's talk some more about gratitude. Gratitude,
and I'm conscious of the 3 tips that I want to give. And gratitude, maybe we start with gratitude.
Okay, that would be awesome.
One of the tools of resilience, and there is science and research behind these, which is kind of mind-boggling. The power of simply being grateful for what's going on in my life. And even on days where I feel, it's just not really, I'm not feeling good and nothing looks too well. If I nearly force myself to put on a different pair of glasses and look and see, oh gosh, it's sunny out there now today, and I'm grateful for that. It becomes a pattern, it becomes a routine in a really good way. And it's in the part of our brain which is very close to optimism, creativity. So there's just so much evidence to show that it as a tool, writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. And I encourage parents to do that with your children. Ask them, what went well today? What are you grateful for? And then seemingly our brain starts seeing more of the things that we're grateful for.
I have a friend who actually uses this in a very sneaky way with her kids. And they say, Mom, can I have a cookie? Mom, can I have a? And she'll say, one thing you're grateful for.
Yeah. Good.
Or I give it to you. And that and it just changes the thinking process.
Absolutely.
For children. And it doesn't even have to be written down. It can be like, I use this sometimes in the grocery store line when I'm, having to wait.
Yeah.
And I'll just do a quick, what am I grateful for right now? Well, I'm grateful that if I'm standing in a line, well, I'm grateful that I can stand up because there are many people who can't.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to purchase what I'm waiting to purchase. The gratitude can be, you can find it when you look for it, you find it. So
you find more and more. And you're absolutely right. I think that we can do it at any time, but I do want to emphasize there's actually a power in writing. It's like writing a goal. It's more likely to happen if I write it down. Montessori used to talk about the connection between the brain and the hand.
Ah.
And it's interesting how now I can see even more sense to it.
Awesome.
The other related one there is optimism.
Yeah, tell us more.
That, again, there, like when you read about it, optimism leads to, there's health benefits, longevity. people live longer who are more optimistic, which isn't, and they talk about, and I'm talking about positive psychology would be the kind of school behind it. Martin Seligman, one of the main theorists in it, and they talk about realistic optimism. So it's not kind of pretending, oh, there's nothing wrong when there are things that are wrong. But it's, instead of getting caught up with the negative, looking to see, well, what are the gifts? Now, both of us are working with the mental fitness too. And it's how do we find the gifts in even the most, what can seem to be, a really hard experience.
Yeah.
There's learning, there's all of that in it. And again, it's doing it. Initially, it can seem like just doing it for the sake of doing it, but then it becomes just your natural approach, and your well of resilience is filled in the process.
Yeah, that triggers a little story in me. And sometimes, some of my listeners might already know, but I lost both parents at the same, well, not at the same time, but they were in palliative care together. So they were both had terminal illnesses at the same time. And I call that a gift, because I was so immersed in death and dying and the whole process, and I had to deal with it for so long that it was a gift, because I had the time and the space and the opportunity to become comfortable about what death is and life and death, and create meaning for myself. So even in something as difficult to deal with as terminal illness, there are gifts.
Yeah.
And I became extremely grateful that I had the opportunity to find those gifts.
Yeah.
So thank you. And you mentioned that there are 3. So we've talked about gratitude. We've talked about optimism.
And connected with optimism is a tool that this man, Martin Seligman, who I mentioned, has come up with in relation to the current time, the pandemic, COVID, whatever. And he suggests that to manage perception, to manage that negativity, okay, I think, what's the worst possible scenario? What's the worst possible outcome? Because that's where my brain goes and your brain goes.
Always. It always goes to the first.
We're wired for that. Okay, because we're still like our ancestors in the cave, looking for danger, looking for whatever it might be. So what's the worst possible outcome? And then force myself to look at what's the best possible outcome, which might seem kind of pie in the sky or whatever, but what's the best possible outcome? And then the third step is, what's most likely to happen? So I go from extreme negativity, maybe to extreme positivity. And then I come back to, well, this might happen, but I'm actually going to be able for it. Yeah. Does that make sense to you? So it's kind of going through, and that's a technique that's suggested to use when we go into that overly negative kind of panic mode, to kind of stop and say, okay, what's the worst, what's the best, and what's probably the likelihood?
And I love when you use that word panic, because quite a lot, my clients come to me, and they come to me because they are anxious and they experience panic attacks. And that's actually a brilliant strategy to use. First, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Yeah. Second, if you can, go to gratitude. Third, if you can, go to optimism. But this tool that you're giving us, take it to the worst. I'm really good at seeing the very worst in possibilities. Yeah. My brain has no problem going there. It's a little more challenging to go to the best, because then you're switching into a different part of your mind. Yeah. And you and I both know that that's where creativity and empathy and our ability to perceive things lives. So we switch to the very best that we can come up with in that moment. And then back to, what do I think? What is most likely?
And
what do I want?
Exactly. But I'm even, as you went through it there too, I'm thinking just the experience of letting myself think the worst and not shut up that voice altogether. Okay, that's the worst, but then making myself go the other end of the spectrum. I can't think of the worst right now because it's already been colored by this positivity. And then I'm more likely to be able to see, well, okay, this is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah,
some great comments there.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa, for summarizing that. And if we can pop Sandra's comment back up as well. I didn't catch what Sandra had said, but yes, I think they both captured what we were saying, which is awesome. And that's also good for our listeners and our viewers on replay as well. And we appreciate capturing that essence, because I think that's super important. And it actually reminds me of the mental fitness process, which is being aware of your inner critics, your inner self-defenses, which is what the worst is, right? That's a saboteur. It's an inner critic. And there are 10 of them. So what's really interesting is if you can immediately go to the worst and then identify, oh, that's hyperachievement, or that's hyper rational, kicking itself into play again. I recognize that. And once you recognize that, then you have the opportunity, because you can put yourself at choice, to say, you know what, enough of that. Dial that down. I don't choose to listen. I want to dial up or tune into that more positive. So that's awesome. Thank you, Kathleen.
Good. And can I add something to the breath one as well?
Please do.
So we had that quick instant calming ourselves down, but we all know, anyone who's been interested in this kind of area at all, and probably to watch a program like this, there's so many variations. If you do yoga, you learn there. So many different, any practice of breathing is good.
Yeah.
Just
breathing is good.
Well, absolutely. It's kind of essential, but practiced breathing.
Yeah.
So that the one I used was nearly more of an emergency one, but to give yourself 5 minutes to focus on your breath. 5 minutes, and to breathe deeply into your belly, which again can take practice for many of us. So that's a tool that fills the well on a daily basis. And then you're able to draw from that as you go.
And what about the monkey mind? What about if you're focusing on your breath and then you notice that your mind is elsewhere? Like, I can't focus on my breath for 5 minutes because my mind thinks of other things. What would you say to that, Kathleen?
Keep coming back to your breath, because if I'm watching my breath, if I'm noticing my breath, I'm not in my head. But I continue up. But the practice, that's why the people who, are the yoga gurus, the people in India could teach us an awful lot about how to breathe properly. They have a respect for breath that we kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
So it's building time, again, giving ourselves 5 minutes, and not to, like you said, the monkey mind is always going to be the chatterbox there. But just keep coming back, and not beat ourselves up for that, as we can do.
Yeah. So nobody's perfect. You're always going to have this.
You and I, Lorraine.
Oh, my father.
You're absolutely right. The more work we do, the more we realize how life is challenging, and we all do the best that we can.
Well, and unfortunately, we are running out of time for this show, and I want to thank you so much, Kathleen. And if we can, again, you mentioned a gift, so I think we have a few seconds left before we need to wrap up. So if I can ask you to do it in 15-20 seconds, that would be awesome.
Okay, I have written a 30-day Fill Your Well journal that goes with a journey of resilience. So that's going to be starting on Valentine's Day. So for anyone who, the link is going across there, It's $29, but it's only $19 for anyone watching this. So you get the journal, you're supported for 30 days, and we have calls, group calls, so you're learning more about resilience and practice.
That would make a really great gift too. If you are stuck about what to give somebody, it's such a great thing to share and to participate together in. I mean, I think that's absolutely awesome. So make sure that you jot down that
Thank you, Lorraine.
That link. And what I'll do as well is after the show, I will add it to the comment section so people can always go to Head Heart Synergy business page, find our video, and it'll be right there for them too.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so at this point, and we are completely out of time, so I want to thank you for being here, Kathleen. Such brilliant and helpful hints. And thank you, everyone who's been tuned in, and we appreciate your comments. Thank you for being here today on the Edge of Fulfillment. And you've been on W4WN, which is Women for Women Radio, and Talk for TV. And I'm host Lorraine LaPointe. And I just want to say thank you. And if you want to continue your community with like-minded people, join Mindfully Moving Forward, which is a Facebook group. And that's where we hang out. So thank you all. And remember to drop those 5 secret words into the chat now, and you'll be eligible for the ballot for the contest. So
thank you very much, Lorraine. This was wonderful.
You're very welcome. And I'm just going to say goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next week, Friday at 10 a.m. right here on Edge of Fulfillment.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.